Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, and in today's video we're gonna be creating a Kubernetes cluster using Kubeadm and Containerd as a container runtime environment. And the operating system that we're gonna be using will be Ubuntu 22.0 for LTS. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So the first thing that we have to do is we need 3 virtual machines, 1 for the master node and 2 for the worker nodes. So if you don't have any virtual machine, then just create one and then you can clone the virtual machines. So let's clone the virtual machine and name it master node. And then we need 2 more virtual machines for the worker nodes. So let's call it worker 1. And then we need 1 more, which will be worker 2. So once we have the virtual machines, we need to make sure that all virtual machines have different IP addresses. And make sure they don't change as well, because if the IP address change, then your nodes won't be able to communicate with each other. So let's start the first node, the master node, and assign the static IP in this. Now the virtual machine has booted. Let's log in to the virtual machine and check the IP address. So the IP address is 192.168.122.219. Let's SSH into the machine. 192.168.122.219. Okay. Enter your password. Now we are into the virtual machine. So first thing first, let's change the host name of the machine. We need to make sure the host name of the virtual machines are different as well. So to change the host name, you'd have to type sudo hostname ttl set-hostname and then the name. So let's name it masternode. Enter the password and type bash to start a new shell, and as you can see, the host name has changed. Let's just clear the screen and let's assign it the static IP. Let me just search for netplan static IP, and then you can find the configuration to assign the static IP on your machine. Just scroll down until you find the static IP configuration. So here it is. Just copy the config and go to etc netplan and then the config file. Remove everything here and just paste your config. And here we need to change a few things. So let's just change the DNS. This is the DNS, which is gonna be the 8.8.8.8, and this one we can keep it 8.8.4.4 and remove this line. And this is gonna be our gateway. So our gateway is gonna be 192.168.122.1, and this is gonna be the actual IP address that we're gonna assign. So let's assign it 192.168.122.100. Now save it, and we need to make sure that the adapter name is also the same. So to check that, just type IP space A, and here you can see the adapter name. And just open the config again and then type your adapter name here, enp1 as 0, and save it and copy the configuration for the later for the other machines. So once we have applied the configuration, we need to type sudo netplan try and then sudo netplan apply. Okay, so here we are getting some error, and I see why is it, because we have an extra dot after the 4. Now we have lost the communication with the machine because the IP address has changed. Let's just terminate the session and restart the session. So now it should work with 100. Yep, it's working. So now we are in the machine. Let's just configure the other machines as well. Let me start the other machine, which is the worker one. And the tool that I'm using for the virtual machines is called Virt Manager, Virtual Machine Manager, and Virt Manager for short. So let's just close this one. Okay, so the IP of this machine is also 219. Now we need to change the host name. Sudo hostname ctl set -hostname and then worker 1. And let's just change the IP address of the machine. etc netplan and then the default config, which is already there. Okay, I need to open it with sudo. Remove the dot and give it 101. Same thing again, sudo netplan try and then sudo netplan apply. Now the IP address of this machine has also changed, and we're gonna do the same thing with the last machine as well. 101. Now let's start the third machine as well. Let's just copy and paste the commands from here. Paste the same config here. And give it 102 or any IP pool that you have available. Now sudo netplan try and then sudo netplan apply. So now we have all the virtual machines ready, and we can start setting up our cluster. So first, let's start with the master node. Let me zoom in. Switch to the root user if you want, or else you will have to keep typing sudo. Okay. Okay, so now we have a repository which I've created recently just for this video, and I've provided all the guide to create a cluster. So first we have to do is we need to disable the swap. We need to make sure that swap is disabled on all nodes. All you have to do is just copy and paste the command on all nodes. So now we have swap disabled on all nodes. And the second step that we have to follow is we have to enable the IPv4 packet forwarding. So, and to enable this, all you have to do is just copy and paste the command. Just copy and paste this command here on the worker node and the worker 2. And now moving to the third step, which is basically applying the changes that we have made on all nodes. And now we have to verify if it's enabled or not. As you can see, it's enabled now. Now we have to install the Containerd, which is basically the runtime environment, the container runtime environment. And to install that, all you have to do is just copy this command and paste it on all of your nodes. So it's gonna take a while. Depending upon your internet speed. So right now I'm getting around 2 Mbps. Okay, so our master node is ready. Let's check the status of the Containerd, if it's running or not. Status Containerd. As you can see, it's active and running. Let's check our other nodes. Systemctl status Containerd. It's running here as well. Let's check on the third node. It's running here as well. So we have Containerd running on all nodes now. Now let's just move to the fifth step, which is the container network interface. Let's install the networking interface. Just copy the command and paste it as it is on all 3 nodes. Okay, so our master node is almost ready. The workers are still in pending while it's installing on the workers. Let's just move to the next step, which is enabling the IPv4 forward. Just copy the command, paste it as it is here. Same goes to the other nodes as well. Let's wait for this to install so we can move with the next steps. Now we have to modify the containerd config file to enable the C group driver, which is gonna be systemd. Let's just modify the config. Just remove everything from here. We don't need any of this. Just let's just open this config on all nodes. Now just copy and paste the whole thing. Now save it on all nodes and then exit. Now we have to restart the containerd to apply the configuration. Just restart and check the status of containerd if it's running or not. So it's running. We've applied the configuration, restarted, and the status is running. So everything is good for now. And our next step is installing the Kubeadm, Kubelet, and Kubectl, which is going to be the client to communicate with the Kube API server. So let's just copy the command and paste as it is. And also one more thing, if you want to use a different version of Kubernetes, you just have to modify it from here and then here as well. So for example, if you want to use 1.29 or 28, you can just change this version from these lines. Now the tools are installing. This is gonna take more than 1 or 2 minutes depending upon your internet speed. So the version that's being installed right now, it's gonna be 1.30.2, which is the latest version as of now. Let's wait for it to install. It's gonna take just a few more seconds. Now we have everything installed to move on to the next step. We need to install it here as well. We don't need to install it here though, but we do need the Kubeadm. Let's just install it here as well, and on the worker 2 as well. Meanwhile it's installing, let's move to the next step, which is going to be initializing the cluster. So before initializing, we need to pull the config images, which is going to be etcd, kube API server, controller manager, and kube API server. Let's pull the images. This is going to take a while, and while it's pulling the images, I'm just gonna pause the video. The images are very lightweight, they are not more than 30 or 40 MB per image, so it should be done faster, but sometimes it takes a while to pull the images. We have to run this step only on the master node. So this step, the initializing the cluster, this is gonna be only on the master node. We don't have to perform any of this operation on the other nodes. So We just have to pull the images and then initialize the cluster. Almost all of our images are pulled now. Just one last image remaining, which is at CD. Once all images are pulled, we can initialize our cluster. So now we have all the images that we need to initialize our cluster. Let's just run the Kubeadm init. Now our cluster is being initialized. As you can see, we have successfully initialized our master node. Now we need to join the worker nodes using this command. So just copy this command and paste it on the worker nodes. So as you can see, this node has joined the cluster. Both of the nodes have joined the cluster. Let's just connect to our cluster and check if we have the nodes available. To connect to the cluster, if you're the root user, all you have to do is just export this variable. And now if you type kubectl get nodes, you can see we have the nodes here, but it won't work unless we install the CNI. So for the CNI, we're gonna be use the weave. Just copy this command for the CNI and just paste it as it is. We need to change the version from here to 1.30. And now we have applied the CNI config. Let's just check the status of the pods. kubectl get pods -n. Namespace is gonna be kube system. As you can see, we have pods initializing. And once the weave network has initialized and running, the core DNS will also start. Let's just put it on watch mode. This is going to take a while to initialize and then it will start running. Right now the init container is running. The nodes won't be ready unless we have the CNI pods up and running. So we just need to wait for them to start. Now as you can see, the pod is being initialized. it's running as a daemon set on all nodes. And as you can see, the core DNS is also in creation. Now we have almost all of our pods up and running. Let's just wait for this one as well. Now we have almost all of the pods up and running. Let's just check the status of our nodes. Kubectl get nodes. As you can see, 2 of our nodes are ready and only the master node is in pending. So this is gonna take a moment. Let's just wait for this to start as well. And if it's not running, just delete the pod, it will recreate and it should be up and running. So just type kubectl delete pod, namespace is gonna be system, and then the pod ID. Terminating now. Wait for this to terminate so it can restart. Now the pod is being initialized. Let's wait for it to initialize. As you can see, the status has changed to running now. Now our master node should be up here. So let's just run a test application just to verify if everything is working fine. Create a pod, kubectl, create kubectl, run, and then the pod name, nginx-pod, and then the image, which is gonna be nginx as well. Now just type kubectl get pods. So the container is being created. Put it on watch mode so we can see once it's created. Meanwhile, it's creating. Let's just create its service so we can access it on our browser. And you can directly create a service by exposing it using kubectl expose command. Check the help, kubectl expose --- help to see the template. So we need to specify the port and the target port, and then the service type. Let's just copy this. host pod nginx-pod, and then the port is gonna be 80. Let's keep it 80, and the target port is 80. You can keep this port anything since it's gonna be the cluster IP port, and we have to define the type as well. Let's just define the type is equals to node port, and now we have the service created, kubectl get svc. As you can see, we have created the service here. Let's just access it on our browser. Just give the IP address of any of these nodes and then the port. Let's just check the pod as well. So the pod is up and running. Let's just access it on our browser. As you can see, we can access the pod now. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching the video. I hope this video helped you. If you liked our video, subscribe to our channel and make sure to hit the like button. Thank you. See you in another video. Goodbye.